Welcome everyone to this week's Tim Talks. I am so fired up to just share with you what we are going to talk about today. I have my dear friend Sean Bradley, Sean V. Bradley. What for starters? What does V stand for, Sean?
Victor, for victorious. I'm victorious.
Victorious.
Yeah.
Nice. So we got a lot of feedback, and through the journey of Car Now. Sean Bradley, even in the very beginning, his name, especially in the Northeast area, where other than Atlanta, where we're from, where we are started, we really had a big footprint there with some great groups up there. And we kept hearing the name over and over and over and over again. And then I kept hearing, because everybody talks about a product or a person or a trainer or whatever. But then I started listening to the stories. Taking internet departments from 75 to 300 and crazy numbers that sound made up. But when the dealer's telling you these stories, you tend to listen. So I'm like, you know what? We need to get to know this guy a little better. So I'm so thankful. I mean, we were just talking before the show. What a story. Just his life in general. Just, not anything to chuckle at. We were chuckling a little bit, but, not nothing to chuckle at. I mean, he had a life-changing moment from prison with someone with a terrorist and to running multiple companies and being uber successful in our automotive space. So we're just so happy to have you on as we unpack a pretty important topic that's happening inside our stores on a daily basis. My friend, Sean V for Victory, Bradley, the founder, and I want to get this right, president, because Mama's the CEO. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble because I know if Mama's not happy in my house, I'm not happy. I learned something very, very quickly. I've been married almost a quarter of a century, and I would rather be happy than right. So with that, man, thank you, Sean, for taking some time. I know we're going to repost this and we're going to put this in Millionaire Car Salesman page on Facebook and all kind of stuff. But brother, welcome to Tim Talks.
Well, listen, thank you so much for having me. Again, first and foremost, I just see that Car Now is lighting it up. The Tim Talks are lighting it up. People in the industry, this is buzzing. So I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, speaking of which, I want to make another announcement because it's always better when other people tell you how great you are than you start telling everybody how great you are. But Sean was just, and this is just hot off the press, Sean was approached based on what's happening. Number one, was he approached by my friend Bob Lanham at Facebook to say, hey, I mean, you've got 17,200 and change followers in the automotive space. And when Facebook is talking to you about, wanting to figure out with how you're doing certain things, you're doing something right, A. And then B, Sean is getting ready to start recording a syndicated radio show. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll dive right into our topic today.
Okay, so the radio show, I can't release the company or companies, but it's going to be a syndicated national radio show. We're starting in Los Angeles, and it looks like Cleveland, and I believe New York, possibly Rochester right now. And then once it picks up, then we're going to start expanding to the different cities. But this is definitely going to be on broadcast radio, and hopefully there'll be millions of listeners on the show. And it's called Against All Odds. And what happened was, to your point, my Millionaire Car Salesman podcast blew up. There was like over 100,000+ downloads. And so the radio people reached out to me and was like, listen, this thing's got legs, and we think that what you're doing for car people, you could do for a broader audience. And so I was like, okay. I know it's weird, Tim, because I never thought I really wanted this until, I had the opportunity. Now that they kind of dangle this there, I'm like, yeah, I want to be a radio show host. I want to interview cool people and learn stuff and help people. So I'm super, super humbled by the opportunity and just appreciative to be able to share my story and where I've been. And just to kind of just transition on that, when you had opened up the show, just to put this out there, because I'm 44 years old, but when I was a kid, I grew up in really serious stuff like violence, poverty. I lost 6 years of my life by the time I was 22. But for most people, there's like a 90% recidivate rate, especially in the feds. I'm proud to say that I've never gone back. I mean, I got in trouble when I was 18 years old, went away when I was 19, and now I'm 44 and I put it behind me. And that's a good segue to go into today. So part of what I'm really passionate about for our industry is being able to help automotive professionals, managers, and owners just simply do more, be more, and achieve more. Because the reality is, I shouldn't be here. I've got friends of mine that are not breathing anymore, and I got friends of mine that are doing life plus 30 years in federal, supermax penitentiaries. And so for me to be able to be a multimillionaire, best-selling author, now radio show host, it's for one reason: because I'm a car salesman, because I've engaged our industry, this beautiful automotive sales industry, and I understand one simple fact: that we could make as much money as we can earn. And so today we're going to talk about how do we cure the attrition problem. So before we go into the new way to sell cars, I want to just give some stats. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So again, I'm a trained Covey professional for 14 years certified, and I love the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And Dr. Covey, me and Karen actually got to work with him and actually training him in Detroit. It was a surreal experience. And I'll never forget, he said the third habit is put first things first. Be careful of distractions disguised as opportunities. So me as a business owner and as a high level consultant, I'm looking at our industry. I'm okay, like, what problems do we have? There's a ton of problems. So how does a consultant or a trainer, try to isolate? Well, we got to find the preeminent problem, in my opinion. There's only one preeminent. And so when I look at all the ins and outs, the uglies, the pretties of our industry, something hits me right between the eyes, and it's the attrition problem. Our industry is plagued between a 70 and 80% attrition ratio. And why is that concerning? Because attrition bleeds over to every other aspect of the business. I mean, if you have a high turnover problem at your dealership, how are you going to be able to maximize? I'm just going to shoot you guys like, a plug real quick. Like, CarNow is a great product, but after you install a CarNow or any other product, CRMs, data mining tools, whatever, and you have a good, onboarding, training, etc. But if your people leave, you're not going to be able to maximize whatever products are at your dealership or maximize them to the full potential. One. Second is, if I am a dealer or manager, I've got to now overcompensate for the lost employee that's not there. Now, not only can I not do my job, so I got to half-ass my job. Now I got to half-ass somebody else's job trying to, scramble, put things together. Everything suffers. Money suffers, gross, net, CSI, client satisfaction, employee satisfaction, all down the road. But yet, this is a fact which blew me away. As per NADA 2019, 2020 data is not fully out yet, especially with the pandemic, but last year it was $640 per car sold in advertising. That means the average dealership out of the 16,500 franchise dealerships, they spend on average about $64,000 a month in advertising to sell less than 100 cars. Yet, Tim, the average dealership spends less than $1,000 a month in training, professional development, personal development, team building, etc. So I believe that dealers are upside down with their resources. You could tell what's important. I want you guys to listen to this, write this down. You could tell what's important with A, where people spend their time, and B, where they spend their money. Tim, what do you think about that?
1,000%. I mean, I've even heard that in church for years, right? So, so it's the same thing. You show me your checkbook, and I'll show you what you love. So, absolutely, 100% agree. And what's important to you, right? So, absolutely agree.
And so when you look at, and we talked about this on the quick promo yesterday, but when I look at Ali Reda, a man, you know what I mean, that is literally, not metaphorically speaking, literally selling, 1,580 units in a year. If you do the math, that's over 130 plus cars per month. He sold 202 cars in 19 days in December 2018, 32 cars in one day. My biggest month was 33 cars. I'm a 30 car guy. And I thought I was balling until I heard that this dude, January 2nd of 2020, this year, he put 32 cars up in one day. So how come there's such a massive discrepancy from people like the Ali Radas, the Frank Cornetti's 100-car guy, Cody Carter, another 120 plus, car guy? How come these people are able to sell 100 cars as an individual on the floor, whereas the average person sells less than 10 cars still, before the pandemic, during the pandemic, after the pandemic? And that's what we're going to talk about. I want to do a little bit today is why. Is that cool with you, brother?
Yeah, man. Let's not. I'm fired up. You already set the table. Let's eat.
Let's
So
let's, let's go.
so how, that's the big question. A lot of you've got a lot of managers. I'm looking at the names on here. I know we've even have a couple of dealer principals on here now. What is the difference? How do you set? It's all about setting the tone, but what is the big difference? All those guys I believe are part of the Millionaire Car Salesman on your Facebook page. So what is the difference? Because you're right, the average car salesman sells less than 10 cars a month. What are the difference between those guys and what are these guys like Ali and others doing that make a big difference?
All right, so there's two parts to this, in my opinion. One is the dealership and the dealership responsibility versus the individual person, the salesperson, or the individual BDC rep, etc. So on a dealership level, one of my competitors, I'm not going to give him shine right now, but I'm gonna take his phrase. I love it. He said, "Did you hire him dead or kill him after you got him?" I mean, that's some funny ass ish right there. You know what I mean? Did you hire him dead or kill him after you got him? And what that means to me is that a lot of dealers hire the wrong people and they hire incorrectly. And the ones that hire the right people don't have a proper onboarding and training protocol. And so they wind up losing people that are good. So I think it's like the chicken or the egg dilemma. In my opinion, it's having a righteous, powerful, structured, integrity-based recruiting and hiring and training strategy. It has to start. I mean, if you think about it, we keep running around saying we're automotive professionals. You know what I think of a professional? I think of like professional NFL athletes. I think of professional people in the Olympics. And think of those people, those coaches and those team captains are recruiting. There's literally systematically recruiting talent versus checking to see if people could breathe and saying you're hired. So I think that you have to have an integrity-based strategy to recruit the right people. And then when you have them, have a systematic way to onboard them and then train them of this century. You can't turn around and train them with antiquated, techniques from like years ago. You can't turn around and put them in front of a VHS tape, which they still have those in dealerships. I walked into training centers and there's still old school tapes that you have to dust off and put in, and so I think that's the first part. But the next part with the dealer is respect. And I don't mean any offense to anybody here, but you have to respect people as your most important asset, not a liability. Because again, what we just said a couple moments ago, if you believe that what I just said, and you said you've heard it with church too, is that you can tell what's important to somebody where they spend their money and their time. If you're not spending time developing your talent, cultivating your talent, then they're not really important to you. They're disposable. It's egregious to spend $64,000 a month in marketing advertising, but not prepare your freaking people the right way on how to handle those prospects when they come into the dealership. Do you agree?
Absolutely agree. My training in 1989 was out on the front lot with a seasoned salesperson as he smoked half a pack of cigarettes in about 30 minutes and told me how bad the car business was and said, "Go get them, kid. You're going to work 80 hours a week." That was my training. So I get it.
I think dealers also need to understand there's a difference of 4 categories. I've subcategorized them. Yes, there's training. And to me, there's different types of training, OEM product certification training, road to the sale training, etc. But then besides training, there's personal development, being able to help structure an individual to develop personally. Covey talks about the maturity continuum, from the 7 habits of highly effective people, where you start as dependent, codependent, independent, and then transition to the nirvana of interdependence. So this is a personal struggle that human beings need to go through. And if you don't have that type of knowledge, because they don't teach us stuff in school, if as a business owner of several multi-million-dollar companies, it is imperative that I train my people to maximize their individual greatness. And if a business owner or manager doesn't help their team understand the concept of personal development, then I think they're leaving an opportunity on the table. Then there goes professional development. For example, when I sold cars, I put myself through Franklin Covey training, Toastmaster training, National Speakers Association training, Skill Pass seminars, search engine optimization courses, video search engine optimization courses, web development courses, all that stuff. There's professional development. Then there's team building, and this I learned from the military. I was only in the reserves in ROTC, so I was a weekend warrior before I caught my case when I was in college for a year and a half. So nothing special, but I did learn a lot going through leadership training in the military. And when I was in the boys' home, we went through like Outward Bound, and there's a whole concept of being able to work synergistically or interdependently with your team. You know what I mean? That is the most powerful thing, is not the mindset of independence, but the mindset of true interdependence of we and us. And I think that so many people are at a dealership level thinking that this is an individual contact sport, that you can't help somebody else out. And I have to confess, when I was selling cars as a 30 car guy, I never kicked somebody in the throat, Tim, but I never was the one to try to help somebody along because I was a primitive mindset. I didn't know any better. And so now this is going to transition to, now that I've kind of explained, I feel the dealership has a responsibility to properly hire and recruit the right people. But then now on the salesperson's perspective, you cannot, and I repeat this, you cannot depend on the dealership to turn around and be your mommy or daddy or your umbilical cord. This industry is simple. You could make as much money as you can earn. The key word is earn. You asked me a question just now about my group with Frank Cornetti and Cody Carter and Ali Rada. You know what I learned from the 3 top people in the world? One fact right here is, the second that you take the restrictions off, meaning everybody asked Ali, Frank, and Cody the same question: how the hell do you sell over 100 cars in a month? And they said, look, they were all 30, 40 car people at one point, but when they first realized, look, I can theoretically do 60 or 80, 90 cars, when they took that mental block off of them, then therefore it was possible. Now, I don't want to sound weird. Let me just explain this concept. If I don't think for a second I have any shot in hell selling 60 cars in November 2020, and I only project for 20 cars this month, right? Do you think I'm accidentally going to fall into 50 or 60? No, because it's not even on your radar that it's a possibility. So you don't make moves or set up opportunities to be able to do so. So that kind of blew me away, because I believe that. Why? Because I crushed 30 cars a month, month after month, and I was salesman of the month, salesman of the year. And I thought that I achieved the pinnacle of success, because I never knew that it was possible, even theoretically, for Sean Bradley to sell 50, 60 cars. I thought 30 cars meant that I was a rock star, and I kind of loved that stuff. Now, going further than that is that nobody's going to work harder for you than you. And here's what I feel. This drives me crazy, and I'm very passionate about this, Tim. Car sales is simple, right? You need to treat car sales like it's your own business. I've heard that for 21 and a half, almost 22 years. I've heard that same BS. The problem is if we don't teach people how to be entrepreneurs, how the hell are they going to be entrepreneurs? If they were entrepreneurial, they wouldn't work for you at the dealership. They'd have their own gig. And I'm going to say, newsflash, managers and owners, the road to the sale and product knowledge isn't entrepreneurship. You have so many different things you need to do as an entrepreneur: marketing, advertising, branding, PR, time maximization, time management, and then all the other car guy, car girl stuff, from product knowledge, road to the sale, and everything in between. So I think that if we really believe the BS that we're spilling to our people, that car sales is like your own business, then you need to be able to really have those resources, the training resources, the structural resources. Like, think of the manufacturer, for example. A manufacturer, if you were, like, you talked about the 300 car store we took from Bob Ruth Ford, from 75 cars on the internet to 317. They are a franchise of Ford manufacturer. Ford does not want to take, or any other OEM doesn't want to just take a shot and hope that a dealer figures it out. So what do they have? They have a whole franchise, process, procedures, brand identity, corporate identity. They even do co-op for what? Because if you follow the blueprint of Ford manufacturer for this business model, we believe you're going to be able to sell a lot of Fords. I believe that dealerships need to do the same thing. They need to begin with the end result in mind and figure out, okay, what's going to make a salesperson successful and grow in their own business within my business at the dealership, and almost kind of like make them, not literally, but metaphorically, like a franchise of them. My daughter, as you know, she was averaging 18 plus cars a month at 19 years old. You know what I mean? T got your keys. She took herself as a franchise of Patriot Buick GMC. and she was trying to basically build her own brand. And this is the thing I feel that I think is missing. Most salespeople don't realize this. Do you realize that there's a strategy to this? NADA 2019 data says that an internet lead roughly from the OEM is about a 6% closing ratio within 30 days. Third-party lead, an aggregated lead is about 8%. Facts. A lead, not a lead, a walk-in fresh up, non-appointment, non-prior is still only 18 to 22%. A referral is about 50%, but a prior customer is 65%. So do you see there's different priorities for these people, but yet most salespeople live off of fresh ups or phone ups or internet ups instead of cultivating their own prior customer base, the referrals and prospecting. So I believe that if salespeople knew that there's 8 ways, Tim, and I'm going to turn it back over to you. There's 8 ways that a showroom salesperson could sell a car. You've got walk-in ups, you've got B-backs, you've got internet ups, you've got phone ups, you've got prior customers / orphan owners, you got service conversions, you got referrals, and you got the lost art of prospecting. NADA says the reason why you're only averaging less than 10 cars for the average salesperson is because the average salesperson only triggers on 2 out of those 8 main ways a month. So what I try to train all my salespeople and the sales managers that train their salespeople is, look, 1, teach your people entrepreneurship, 1. And then second is you want to make sure that they diversify their opportunities throughout the month and never, ever, ever wait for the magic up bus.
No, that's, I mean, that's it. So there's so much there, after a year, after 2 years on the floor, technically you shouldn't have to take it up. But there's a lot of dealers. It's getting people, I see it on a daily basis, even with technology, getting dealers to embrace technology, even in the world we live in now, where digital retailing per se, I don't even know who originated that word. We were talking about it in 2013, but that dealers, especially now, are doing well for the most part. I think the problem now, we went from March, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, April, May, June, July, August, setting records. Our friend Jonathan Dawson told me the other day, he said, Tim, because he was going through his year, and he was like, how do you're trying to teach people how to fish, and fish are jumping in the boat. So, it's a mindset that in the automotive space, when we sense any form of success, to change. And it's those few, like the Alis and others, that say, you know what, this isn't enough. So I would challenge, all of us in all of our careers, in all of our daily lives. I told you yesterday, every day, I review the game. I'm not being silly. I review the game film in my head. How could I have been a better daddy today? How could I have been a better husband today? How could I have been a better entrepreneur today? How could I be a better boss today? Who can I love on today? Who can I influence today? And if we change our mindset, I think it changes everything. But, it's very difficult for whatever reason, especially in any space, but especially our space, because business right now is pretty good, for people to see through that and the potential that is within them. I'm not big, but your story is phenomenal. My story, I never had a Harvard education to start. None of this. It's just, it takes drive. It takes being the willingness to learn and to truly listen more than you speak and get better. So my question to you is this. We understand, and I absolutely believe 1,000%, if there's such a thing, 1,000%, that dealers themselves, still in 2020, just like you said, hire salespeople, throw them out on the lot. This is your own business, kid. Here's your pad. Still, sometimes you'd be amazed at some of the dealerships we go in, and I won't mention what states, but still pad of buyer's orders. Here's your desk. There's your phone. Here's your 2-drawer filing cabinet. Go get them, kid. And that's we still want good CSI, good surveys, and we still want that kid to be successful. But that's the training that most dealers give. So my question to you is, if in fact you are, and I ask this to a lot of guests on Tim Talks, whatever we're talking about, but if you are a new salesperson, maybe you're a seasoned salesperson, but you, Sean Bradley, are going into a brand new store. Maybe it's a new market. Maybe your wife got a new job. You traveled with her. You're a great car salesman. You can get a job anywhere, and you plop down in that new cubicle. Give us some steps on what your first week looked like, because I think it's important for the sales person that's on to hear this. But I also think this is important for as I see, so there's a few dealer principals and general managers on here as well. What do you do, and what can we take away from that, or what are some steps that I mean, you've mentioned a lot, but what would you do?
100%. I love this question. So different levels. On the first level, I want to immerse myself in education, because I am not going to be successful or not successful because of another person breathing. I'm not going to go to my kids and say, sorry, Santa Claus can't do it this year because, and blame it on the pandemic. So what I'm going to do is, like, we live in the most incredible age ever, the information age, where every possible question can be answered on the internet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to immerse myself in, and I'm not just plugging this, but I'm just saying, like, the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, the Millionaire Car Salesman, podcast, Tim Talks, the Auto Success Magazine, dealer magazines, driving sales, dealer refresh, Sellcology. Shout out to Jonathan Dawson. He's an amazing trainer and a gifted, teacher. So I would want to immerse myself for free, okay, in as much free content I could get on Google and YouTube. Why? Because I want to be able to have an unfair advantage of, strategies, best practices, marketing things, whatever. So I would immerse myself in free education before I start spending any money. That's the first thing. The second thing I would do at the dealership depends. Am I a showroom salesperson, you said?
Sure.
Okay, I want to find out what my potential is. Obviously, I'm going to be able to watch the lot, but I want to get in the internet initiative and phone initiative. And unfortunately, some dealerships, they have rules where you have to be on the BDC team or the internet sales team. So hopefully, if you are brand new, you have the privilege to be able to take internet ups and phone ups. Why? Because I find an egregious amount of these leads are not being handled the proper way. Let me explain. If the average dealership we're tracking is about 500 fresh leads, this is November 3rd, so here's a real world example, especially for the DPs and the managers listening to this. If you run a report in your CRM today, all active leads that are 90 days or less for internet leads and phone ups, if you average 500 fresh leads, I would say that you probably have 600 to 700 active leads that are 90 days less from today. Plus, in the month of November, you're going to get another 500 leads. So you don't really have 500 leads for this month. You have literally 1,100 opportunities. Most dealerships are not set up infrastructure-wise to handle the intermediate to long-term follow-up. That's how come we have these colossally large jumps from 75 to 300, from 60 to 160, stuff like that, is because we get them involved. So if I'm a new salesperson, I'm going to go right to the dealer, the GM, whoever my immediate boss is, I'm like, listen, can I get in the internet ups or the phone ups? The internet and phones are the new showroom, first thing. Second thing, I'm going to create that list. Oh, I heard this podcast over there, Tim Talks, and some guy, Sean, with a lot of orange on, said there's 8 ways to sell cars. Okay, walk-ins, beatbacks, internet ups, phone ups. Okay, here's another huge missed opportunity, orphan owners. People don't realize this. They think, oh, these things suck. Are you kidding me? The data from NADA says that an orphan owner is the same exact thing as a prior customer. Just because they didn't buy from you, they bought from your dealership, they close at a 65%, closing ratio, which is the highest closing ratio, and roughly about $500 to $600 higher gross profit the second time around. So I'm going to get as many of my orphan owners as I possibly can from the dealership, because again, most people don't respect the orphan owners and don't go in that direction. Next thing is service. Okay, for whatever reason, the freaking service department is usually a couple feet away from the sales department. NADA says that a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle from when they service a car from. And so I'm going to turn around and go to work early. Okay, I'm going to get there 7:30, and I'm going to work the service drive. If I don't have data mining, equity mining tools, I'm just going to go old school and just start talking to people. But if I do have data mining, equity mining, I'm going to look at my appointments that are scheduled for that day, identify who's got equity or who's got a story that I could turn around and try to engage them, whether I want to buy back their trade or save them $5 a month on their payment, etc. Now, after I've maximized the dealer's resources that are right there, now I'm going to turn around and get my phone. I'm going to export every name that's in my email, my Gmail account, my old Yahoo account, whatever, and I'm going to import them into a CSV, which is a spreadsheet file. I'm going to also go to my contacts, and when I have a little database now of, let's just say, a couple hundred to 300 people, my friends, family, my network, since I'm 40 years old, right? And I'm going to upload that into a Facebook, Instagram ad manager, and I'm going to start very, very cheaply for like $100 or something like that, start targeting my own base. I'm not going to wait for the dealerships umbilical cord to give me opportunities. And again, as I make some money, I'm going to save up to get my own website like my daughter did, tgotyourkeys.com, and I'm going to start driving traffic to my own website. The biggest thing that I'm going to do here is diversify. That way I don't have all my eggs in one basket. I'm not just waiting for the up bus. I'm going to diversify and try to maximize everything. And the last thing I'm going to say is this: I will be freaking productive from the second that I walk into the dealership to the second that I leave. What does that mean, Tim? That means that most people are not productive. That's why we still have this archaic, ridiculous, stupid bell-to-bell schedule. Because why do we keep somebody working 12 straight hours to sell 10 cars? Because we need to. Because if they didn't work bell to bells, we would get less than the 10 cars that they average by themselves. That's because they're not productive. The CRM is not set up correctly. They don't have an action plan of what to do from the second that they show up to the second that they leave. So hopefully I thoroughly answered your question.
Well, if you were a preacher, I'd be at the altar. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, I wish someone would have laid it out like that. Obviously, as old as I am, in '89, at 17 years old, there was no internet. But right now, just if you did not get some golden nuggets from just simple stuff, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about, with my buddy Brian Toole, we talk about geofencing. We've talked about, with Dan, we talk about intricate details of marketing on this show. But at the end of the day, all of that is amazing, and all of it is effective in to sell cars as we reach the entire automotive community. Dan Moore with marketing and so on and so forth. All the people we've had on almost since March. But it's all going down to people executing, because we can do all the marketing we want to get people into the store and to click, and unless we're answering them in such a way, you're spot on. I mean, how many dealerships in America right now still, and not too many people smoke anymore, but the people that smoke anymore, when I grew, I mean, the dealership I started working at, there were still ashtrays at my desk. So that tells you how old I am. But everybody shows up at the dealership salesperson wise, and they smoke and joke out on the front lawn, or front lot in the morning, and they read the paper or they pull up the internet, and before you know it, 3 hours are gone and they've never made one phone call. They've looked at their CRM, and whether they made a phone call or not, they check, or they actually act like they've done something, and then they wonder why they end up at 9 cars a month. I mean, it's just an ongoing process over and over and over again. This has been great. Go ahead.
We have a minute to show you guys something.
Yeah.
All right, can I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to show you Tiana's website for a second, and I have no affiliation. I'm not a reseller for Build a Brand, so there's no plug here, but this is her website. She's got the best website that I've ever seen, and she's won awards for an individual salesperson's website. So your readers could turn around, or listeners could go to tgotyourkeys.com. But here in the Millionaire Car Salesman group, I want to show you what she did, to what you're talking about. See this ad right here? This blew my mind. My daughter spent $400 that month on paid Facebook ads. This one ad is a display ad for the LGBT community. It cost her $6. That's it, $6 to serve up this ad. And now let's go to the punchline. I want you to hear it from her own words.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take those off.
And I actually got my first.
Here we go.
Hi guys, it's T. I just wanted to let you guys know that today I actually, we're doing our Facebook ads for the LGBT community, and I actually got my first customer. She reached out to me on my website, and she came in and she bought the car. So that just goes to show you that a little bit of money and a little bit of effort towards the Facebook ads, and obviously catering to certain communities, it definitely helps. And I sold a car. So she came in, she said, I read your bio, I thought you were so sweet even before I met you. I saw the little pictures you had on your website, and she just thought, that's the type of person I want to deal with if I'm going to buy a car. So she came in, she drove an hour away.
That's it right there. She drove an hour and 20 minutes away on a used car for a $3,500 front end gross off of a $6 ad. So this is the new way to sell cars. If we don't embrace that we have the power to be able to, do more, be more, and achieve more, it blows me away. Tim, you know what I train my people, and I do this. There's a kid named Ryan's Toys who at 8 years old,
I know.
no, let me just say this for the group. It blows my mind. In 3 years, he made $59 million, $26 million at 8 years old, $22 million at 7 years old, and $11 million at 6 years old. A 8-year-old child made $59 million. You're reviewing toys on YouTube. Then there's Doug the Pug, who's a pug that has 2 million Instagram followers and has, makes $500,000 a year. I joke to my clients and say, look, you got a pug that's living the life that you like to live. No, why are we trying to sell cars like it was the 80s or 90s? No, you got to take those restrictions off of you. There's nothing that you have to fit in a box. And think about disruptors like Airbnb, Uber, Netflix, etc. These are disruptors because they're doing things differently. Salespeople don't need to follow the antiquated template of decades or scores ago. You need to turn around and just put units on the road. Be creative, be proactive, and take it seriously.
No, I love it. We are running out of time, but I just, wow. How helpful would this have been if I would have saw this many, many years ago? We're going to have you back, Sean, to talk about some other topics because there's not enough time. But look, I mean, just some incredible stuff. Please, if you're not a member, go ahead. I'm a member. I've been a member for a couple years now of Sean's Facebook page, 17,250. I think maybe I've got that wrong. I'm sure some more people joined today. A millionaire car salesman on Facebook. Many, many people on there. As always, just as Tim Talks started to do and wanted to do, as we always say, no one's smarter than everyone. Let's just get better together. That's what that is. Make sure that you know the 8 types of customers that are buying a car. I picked up and I made notes on all of this so that I could regurgitate that to people and try to help as well. And the Facebook ad, $6, T got your keys. And the funny thing is Sean started to talk about his daughter's Facebook page, and I knew the URL. T got your keys. It was catchy. She made the URL. I pinned the URL because I saw it in the Millionaire Car Salesman. So listen, there's a lot of good stuff in there for you, and be listening for Sean's radio show as he continues to work on that. Sean, I'm going to give you final thoughts, and then I've got some winners. Don't hang up. We are going to be giving away 4 tickets to the David Kane Friends and Family event this November 10th through the 12th. So 4 of you lucky people, and I think I'm scrolling through. I think 1 or 2 of you might be on and listening, so don't hang up. But Sean, give us some final thoughts, brother.
Again, I try to, say this as much as possible. We only have 86,400 seconds in a day. Once they're gone, they're gone. Time is the most precious commodity that we have. And I hope that everybody feels the same way, especially during this whole COVID thing and how precious life is and how precious that we have. So don't waste them. Learning through Covey, they say on average, we're only given 76 summers. I just had my 44th summer just recently, and that scares me. So I try to live every day with profound purpose and try to help other people. And again, that's my little, I want to end is that look, time is too short. It's not a cliche, thing to say. It's real. So if you're working at a dealership, I don't care what your position is, just strive to do more, be more, and achieve more. And you are in the most incredible, time of existence, this age. So thank you again, Tim, for having me. And I love what you're doing at Tim Talks. And I'd be honored if I could come back in the future one day. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Just let me on your nationally syndicated radio show and we'll be fine. No, I'll let you on. That's okay. Hey, Holly Ann, if you will throw this week's winners, these are the winners to the David Kane Friends and Family Workshop. I keep forgetting my drum roll. I've got a noisemaker in the back. I need to use that. But the David Kane Client and Friends Digital Success Workshop. Paul French was on today. I believe David Flowers was as well. John Cadell and Kevin Hughes. All 4 of you are going as our guest at Car Now. Look, be a hero. You'll have a login, get some people around. You can record some stuff. best practices. We are going to be presenting on November 11th. We're going to be talking about the new lead. You know, everybody talks about leads. You know, look, leads, yeah, they're important to look at, but they don't, I can't buy groceries with leads. I buy groceries by selling cars. So how do you measure your leads, and what marketing are you doing? Are you going by your gut, or are you going by the data? Listen, Sean, we can't thank you enough. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. As always, we will see you next week with Glenn Pash. And as always, no one's smarter than everyone. I don't have a cool tattoo. No one's smarter than everyone, and let's get better together. God bless you. Thank you. We'll see you next week.